Skeleton Crew Episode 3 feels like Star Wars. We get X-Wings, we get new aliens, and we get the Force. But perhaps the biggest reason of what makes this episode feel so much better than the previous two is just the addition of Jude Law. As we saw in the last episode, we got Jude Law being introduced to the kids. And with this episode, he is just a perfect addition to the group. He balances out the childish recklessness and just being stupid with the caliber of acting and just having a Jedi on board really helped, I think, balance the show quite a bit. I think it made it a lot more engaging, especially to more of an adult audience rather than a kid audience. And it added a bit of a tension as they don't necessarily trust him, as well as a different layer with having now an adult on board and not to mention a Jedi at that. It elevates the kids a bit better because now they are allowed to be kids and make those mistakes. Whereas previously, Edward and I were a bit harsh against them because they were just reckless kids. That's how they're supposed to be. But now having the balance of this adult on board, I think really ties it together and made this to me a really good episode.
I agree. I really enjoyed the episode and a lot of it had to do with Jude Law, which funny enough, I'm not the biggest Jude Law fan. I've never really thought of him as like this great actor or like an action type of dude, but I found him, you know, funny in this episode. And I saw an interview earlier today uh about Skeleton Crew, and they were asking him whether or not he was related to Palpatine or whether he was a
Jesus.
clone. And a friend of mine sent me a picture which I just sent to Griff, and they were asking him whether he was because someone had let it slip, I believe, earlier on this year that he's a Jedi that escaped Order 66,
Mm.
and he played coy about it, almost as if he didn't know. And so now there's kind of like, well, is he? Isn't he? He could use the Force. He could be just a Force sensitive dude like Ezra was, and maybe he had some sort of training, or he kind of trained himself, or I don't know, like Ray maybe found a fucking Jedi book and he trained himself. We're not sure yet. All we really know is that he's some sort of pirate and that he has Force abilities, which I think is pretty cool.
I love it.
I'd really like him to be a Jedi. That would be awesome.
I think it's gonna be like
Jude Law
similar to
looks about
like
as
Kanan Jarrus.
yeah,
Where like he was a
yeah. He could have
Padawan
been
and then
a
he
Padawan,
never
100%.
became a Jedi.
Yeah, there you go.
And I
That
think that
could be
also
it too.
ties I think that ties in very well with what he said at the end of this episode. I think that to me makes the most sense here.
I agree, and I like the dynamic between him and the kids because the kids don't like. Well, two of the kids like him. One of them really likes him. The other one's spectacle, the Cyclops Storm chick. She doesn't like him. And the other little brat's just like, well, she doesn't like anyone. I kind of can't stand her, but I'm wondering whether or not I'm gonna really grow to like her. But I really like this episode. I was telling Griff,
Yeah.
I was like, we had X-Wings, we had space battles, we had the Force. Um, I even like that owl thing, and I'm more convinced now than ever than that it is Earth. And I actually saw a TikTok today where Earth is in the comics canon to Star Wars, and it just got almost erased from memory. And obviously that's where humans came from, and then they went out and explored space. And it's funny that I saw that TikTok today. So yeah, I'm more convinced now than ever that that's Earth, and I'm curious as to where the next episode's going to go. We know that this is after Return of the Jedi, like right around the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. So I'm curious what else we're going to see, if we're going to run into some familiar faces. I know that a lot of people have been saying, let's move away from the Skywalker saga. Star Wars can be interesting without the Skywalkers, and it can be. I mean,
I think it's good evidence of it so
the
far.
the Skywalkers aren't the only Force powers out there. I mean, Ezra, Sabine, Ahsoka, Jude Law's character. There's a lot of very interesting non-Skywalker characters out there, and this is proof of that.
Mhm.
Whether or not we circle back or we get a cameo or we get a name drop, I wouldn't mind it, but I'm enjoying it. This episode much more than episode one and two.
Oh yeah, and I love the mystery going around at Aden. I think that really that's keeping me very intrigued. And I think that's probably that and Pirate Jedi. I think of my two favorite things about the show so far. In this episode, it did make me laugh a bit when Jude Law turned on a separatist droid and he just said, "Did we win?" I thought that was hilarious.
That was funny. I did like
And
that. Yeah.
that was so good. And then I find it really fascinating that the people of Atten don't know about the war. Don't know about any of it. And I'm really intrigued and they definitely have me going. I agree with everything that Edward said, but this episode really sold me of like why I should keep watching. Before like episode 2, I was excited for Pirate Jedi. That was pretty much it. But now I'm a lot more excited about everything else that's going on in this story. And I know that a few of you gave up after the second episode. Maybe give it another one. I think that this one was good and I think it's already gonna be better than the Acolyte. I know it's such a low bar,
Oh,
but I can't
that
think of a single bad thing that happened in this
this
episode.
episode alone was better than the entire Acolyte. Well, in my
Yeah.
opinion, you guys may say that I'm fucking crazy. One thing that Griff just mentioned, about at Atten and things like that, and he said that that people in at Atten didn't know about the war and all that stuff, but they know about Jedi.
Yeah.
They know
Which,
about the Jedi, and this little kid's like, yeah, the Jedi do this. The Jedi are the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy and stuff like that. So at some point there
actually,
was a schism that like at Aden like was like I don't know,
I
just
think it makes a lot of sense because I mean, there's like a lot. There's like they have heavy relations to the Old Republic. We know that for sure, and that could have been when the schism happened. But also in episode 1, Sith were next to a myth. They were unheard of to this point of resurfacing. We know that. Yet this kid has a Sith toy. So maybe it's just the schism was back in the High Republic where Sith were a lot more
funny enough
common.
that TikTok I saw today, and they don't mention at Aden. They in these comics they mention Earth. And guys, if any one of you guys out there actually know what I'm talking about and you have read these comics, please let us know in the comments because I have not. Um, but they mentioned in this TikTok that like there was three or four other planets that
Hmm.
got a schism happened, and they were very like old High Republic era, and that something happened where they just got sucked out of the known galaxy. And we later on find out that Palpatine is out there searching for like the unknown galaxy or something like that. So I don't know, but as Griffin said, and I agree with him, I'm very much intrigued. I want to know what's going on, man. How did they know about Jedi and Sith, but they don't know about the Clone Wars and the fall of you know what I mean?
Okay, so then going off of that, if they are not in the known universe, the only other show that's dealt with that is the Ahsoka show. They're outside of the known universe. This could be how they get back. I kind of doubt it, but it could be. And it could be where closer where Ahsoka is than it is to like they reference Coruscant and Alderaan. I may like if it was just really good cloaking. I don't know, but
Yeah,
who
I'm
knows?
interested. Want to
I
find
am
out. I
too.
hope it's not something, dumb. I hope it's like a
Yeah.
good. We're all left in awe and we're like, oh, damn, that's awesome.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, I'm intrigued.
honestly, solid episode, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave your thoughts about what you thought about this episode in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please help us and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this, you may very well enjoy the first two episodes that we reviewed. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching.
Take care, guys.